So Huesler and Broady, they're facing off in the first round of the Sardegna Open. So this is a new tournament that was organized to make up for all the tournaments that were lost in the other year. So let's go through each of their matches. So Marc Andrea Huesler, he's had a a decent. I don't know if I would say it was a decent year this year, but by any means, I don't think that his year was so bad. 'Cause so far, he's he qualified for this event, which was impressive, right? He made the semifinal on clay last year, so he can play on the clay. He's participated in many challenger level events, so he didn't make a challenger level quarterfinal, and he did do well in that event. Although he hasn't done as well as I thought before because he hasn't done so well in the other events that he played in the Miami Open. He lost in the final round of qualifying, so he wasn't able to qualify. And in the Australian Open, he didn't qualify either. But he qualified for this event, so he can play on the clay. So we'll see if he can maybe have a resurgence at this event. Now, Liam Broady this year, he's not done bad by any means. He made the final of a challenger event. He also made a semifinal of another challenger event and then a final of another one. So he's done well in the challenger events this year. And in Miami, he also won two matches to qualify for the main draw, and he lost to Cecchinato, but he took a set from him. So it was a good match because it looks like he's doing well. He's doing decently this year, and he also did qualify for the French Open, so he can play on the clay as well. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he can do this year because he can play on the clay by any means. Now, now Huesler and Broady, they've not met officially, and I don't think, and they've not met at all. In fact, they actually haven't met at all on this. So they have a 0-0 head-to-head record. They haven't met at all. So this one is a tough match to call because one of the players is in good form, but like like Brody's in decent form. He's not in the best form of his life, but he's in decent form, and Huesler also will be searching for some form because he hasn't done so on the other events, but he qualified for the main draw of this. I'm gonna side with the Swiss to win this in three sets. I think that's gonna be a three setter because one of the players is in good form. But I'm gonna side with the Swiss, Marc Andrea Huesler. I'm gonna side with the Swiss to win this one because it looks like he showed some form in the qualifying events. He's looking good while he's good on clay. I'm not sure he's as good as Huesler, and also Huesler did make a semifinal on clay last year in Austria. Right after the year, he made the semifinal on clay in Austria last year. So I'm gonna go with him to win this one in three sets. So Nagal and Kovalik, they're facing off in the first round of the Sardegna Open. So let's go through each of their matches. So Nagal is an Indian player. He has, I would say, a bright future. I would say, and he he has had some good wins this year because he did do well in the Argentina Open. He made the quarters. He lost to Ramos Vinolas, but he took a set and he could have won that. So he did uh, do well in the Argentina Open. So that's a good sign for him. He also beat Christian Guerin, who's a great clay court player. And even if Guerin wasn't at his best, it was still a good win for the goal because he actually prefers playing on the clay due to it. He's a little shorter than most players, so he does actually prefer the clay because it's better for shorter players since you don't really have to do well on the serve. You don't have to have the best serve of all time, and even if you don't on clay, you can still do okay. So he actually prefers playing on clay. But that aside, he did make the quarterfinal of a challenger in Zadar, and which is a good run in a challenger event. So we're gonna see what can happen here because he can definitely beat his opponent who's not in his best form, especially on the clay courts, because he prefers playing on the clay due to, I guess, his height restrictions. He's not as good, I guess, on hard courts. Although he can show he has been good because he has taken a set from Federer at the U.S. Open in 2019, but he can show that he's not as good, I guess, on the clay than he is. Sorry, he's not as good on the hard courts as he is on the clay now. His opponent has also been mainly on the Challenger Tour this year, but let's look at his results there. He did make a semi-final of the Challenger in Istanbul, and then in the Challenger in Antalya in Turkey, he lost. He lost in the first round, but he also did make a quarterfinal of a Challenger in Antalya as well. And in the Cordoba Open, he also made the quarters as well. So it was a good run for him. And then, so he's has some good results this year as well. So we're gonna see what he can do, especially on the clay courts, because on the clay he can also be good, as evident in his run to the quarters of Cordoba. Now, Kovalik and Nagal, I don't think they've ever met like officially, and they actually haven't met at all. So their head-to-head is 0-0. So this is their first meeting on the ATP circuit. So my prediction here is a tough one, but I'm going to side with Nagal since he looks good on clay. He's looking good this year on the clay course. So I'm going to side with him to win this match in a 3-setter. I think it's going to be 3 sets, but I think that Nagal is going to get the win. So my pick here is Nagal in 3 sets here. So Vesely and Andre Martin, they're facing off in the first round of the Sardegna Open. Now, Vesely, he's played in a couple events this year. He first played at the Murray River Open. He made the quarterfinals, so a good run from him. He also beat Casper Ruud along the way, which was a great win for him as well. But he lost to Auger-Aliassime. He had to retire, so that was a shame for him. He probably could have gone. He could have gone maybe a little further. At the Australian Open this year, he managed to make it to the second round. He lost to Carreño Busta in four sets. So he was able to take a set from Carreño Busta, which was impressive because Carreño Busta is a good hardcore player, and he's also a good clay court player. But he was able to take a set, which was impressive from him. And the Open to de France, he didn't do well. He lost in the round of 16, so he didn't do so well. And even in Miami, he also lost in the first round there. So we're gonna see if he can bounce back on the clay courts because he is a decent clay court player as well. So we're gonna see whether he can bounce back on the clay. Now Andre Martin, he's one of the guys that actually participated in the Golden Swing. He took part in all 3 events. So he lost in the first round to Edgeverry in straight sets, which was not a good, even though that guy was Argentine, it wasn't a good, loss because, Martin was the more experienced opponent and could have won that, but he lost it anyway. Right? In Argentina, he also lost in the first round to Lucas Klein. And in Chile, he played in Chile, and he managed to win his first match against Cerundolo in straight sets before losing to the opponent in straight sets, and he only won 3 games. The same manner in which he thrashed his last opponent, he lost in pretty much the same manner, so that wasn't really such a good loss for him either. So you're gonna see, and he is a good clay court player, but we're gonna see if he can bounce back here. And he also lost in the round 16 in the Challenger event too, so we're gonna see maybe he can do something here. Maybe he can bounce back here. So we're gonna see if that can happen. Now, Martin and Vesely, they've never met officially. On. Actually, sorry, they have met officially on the main tour, and Vesely won that one in 3 sets. I think it was in the Davis Cup in the qualifier. They played in Slovakia, so Martin's native hometown in 2020, and Vesely won that one coming from a set down 4-6, 7-5, 7-5. But they also met in a challenge in an event in the Czech Republic. It was unofficial, so it didn't count towards the head-to-head. But Martin won that one 7-5, 2-6, 7-5. So we're gonna see if Martin maybe can draw confidence from the fact that he has a win over Vesely, even if it's not official. He can draw maybe some confidence from that. We're gonna see if that can happen, and maybe that can lead into victory and maybe find some form. So right now, the prediction I'm gonna make here is I think Vesely's gonna win this. I think right now Vesely is just in better form. I think that Martin, he's not really in good form. He hasn't played well the past couple events, and he hasn't really won much. And while he's good on clay, his opponent is also a decent clay court player. So as a result, I'm gonna pick Vesely to win this one. I I think it's gonna be straight sets. So I'm gonna pick Vesely in straight sets for this because in the last three the feasted players, Martin hasn't won a set either. So my prediction here is Vesely in straight sets. I think he's gonna win it because he's just in better form now.